The residence registration itself takes only about 10 to 5 minutes if you don't count the waiting period. But then getting an appointment is the difficult part. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Tolu, and in today's video I will be sharing important first steps to take as an international student moving newly to Germany. I was privileged to live in the beautiful city of Berlin for about 2.5 years. I studied there. I earned my master's degree in mathematics there at the Technical University of Berlin, graciously funded by the Berlin Mathematical School. It was such a beautiful experience I had while there. I so much enjoyed living in Berlin and in Germany as a whole, and I enjoyed the program. You should check out the Berlin Mathematical School if you don't know about them and you are interested in graduate study in mathematics. It's a lovely community, and I'm sure you have a good experience with studying funded by them. So in today's video, like I said earlier, I'm going to share some helpful first steps for you if you are a new international student moving to Berlin. If you've lived moving to Germany in general, not necessarily Berlin, if you've lived in Germany for a while, then you probably have most of this covered. But if you are traveling newly from a new country, some of these things might be new to you, and I just want this video to be an helpful guide for you to know what you need to do and to help you get started. The list is definitely not exhaustive, so you should consult the International Student Center in your school to ask more questions and to get clarity on things you need. But the aim of this video is to give you a general overview of what you need to do. So the first on my list here is paying your semester fees. I'm assuming you've already gained admission to a course of your choice in a school of your choice in Germany. So the first step I would say is to try to get your semester fees settled, and of course I would say after getting accommodation too. I'm assuming you've also gotten accommodation, because it's important to try to get your accommodation sorted even before you arrive. So I'm talking now as see if you've already arrived in Germany and you're trying to get things sorted. So first is to try to pay your semester fees. Tuition in most of Germany is free. I think in most public universities, at least, you don't need to pay tuition, but you still need to pay what is called a semester fee, and I think it ranges from between 200 to 300 euros. It might be a bit more now, but it used to be between 200 to 300 euros depending on your university, and the fee covers admin costs and also includes a discounted transportation plan for students. So if you pay your semester fee, you are basically paying for transport for the semester, but at a very discounted rate. Like, the rates are really good. It's really transportation for students in Germany is really discounted, and that's one of the many things I enjoyed about living there. I did not have to worry about paying for transport. I just had to pay my semester fee at the beginning of the semester, and I was sure that I would have my transportation covered for that semester. And it's really, like I said, it's really discounted compared to the actual price of transport in Germany. So it's a good one to take advantage of. Well, you have to pay it anyways. So try to pay it on time, because there's a deadline for payment and you don't want to like skip over it and forget. Although I'm sure the school will keep reminding you that you haven't paid. So try to get this sorted as soon as possible. Get like your semester fees paid. Second on my list here is residence registration. This is very important. In fact, it's one of the very first things to make sure you do when you arrive in Germany, because you need it for almost every other registration you have to do. So the residence registration in Germany is simply registering your apartment. So like I said, I'm assuming you've already gotten an apartment. So you need to register the apartment. So you need to let the government know you are staying at this address. And to do that, you need I think you need a contract. There's a form that you and your landlord need to sign, and then you take that to the registration office. It's a very short process actually. It's very easy to do, but it's very important, because everywhere you go, for almost everything you need to do, someone will ask you, where's your residence registration? You need to open a bank account, even to buy a SIM card. So, well, not to buy a SIM card, but to register your SIM card to activate it, you need to have done your residence registration. So try as much as possible to make sure that you get it off the table as soon as possible. So I'm not sure what the exact procedure is in all of Germany, but it usually requires you and your landlord signing some documents, so your landlord attesting to the fact that you are actually staying at this residence that you claim to be staying at, and that way the government has your address and they can send you mails. Germany likes to send its residents mails, so try to get that done. And one thing I would like to mention here is to start looking for an appointment as soon as possible. My friends and I used to joke about Germany, Berlin in particular, and say like the actual process of doing things is not difficult. For example, the residence registration itself takes only about 10 to 5 minutes if you don't count the waiting period. But then getting an appointment is the difficult part because it seems there are a lot of people trying to also get appointments at the same time, and you need an appointment for almost everything. Although for the residence registration, I think it's possible to work in on some free days, but I'm not very sure how reliable that method is. My advice would be to try to get an appointment early on, very like long before, maybe even before you arrive in Berlin. Just try and go onto the website and try to book an appointment in one of the registration offices. And third on my list here is getting a phone number. This is very important, and I put this before opening a bank account, because I think you need your phone number in order to open a bank account. So your residence registration first, and then third is getting a phone number. And the reason why the residence registration comes before the phone number is because, as far as I know, you need your residence registration in order to activate your SIM card. So you can buy a SIM card easily, but then in order to activate it and be able to make calls with it, go on the internet with it, you actually need to activate it first. And to activate it, you need to have registered your residence. So it's a very important step, registering your residence, because even just to get a SIM card activated, you need to have done that. So try as much as possible to get that done as soon as possible. It can be a bit frustrating, especially when you haven't gotten an appointment, but be hopeful. And sometimes, like, you can just by luck go on there and get an appointment, maybe because someone has cancelled also. And just try. That's the difficult part, getting the appointment. So the first thing I said is paying your semester fees. Then second, I said registering your apartment, and then thirdly, getting a phone number. Fourth on my list is opening a bank account. A bank account is helpful, especially if you're on a scholarship or on some sort of assistantship, because you need to get paid. And I think Germans have a bias for German IBAN, so I think they encourage people using German bank accounts as opposed to international accounts. When I arrived newly, I did not have a German account, of course, and for the first few months my scholarship was paid to my international account, but they encouraged me. I was told to try as much as to get a German bank account as soon as possible. So it's not like, oh, they will never pay into your non-German account, but they'll prefer if you could get a German account. And it also makes things easier for you because you have a bank account in the country where you are living in. And one thing to note about these banks is that some might be difficult to open because some will require you to have a residence permit. I mean, you are new, how do they expect you to have that? But some people ask for that. But some are quite easy to open even with your visa. Some really are supportive of international students. So you want to take note of those kinds of banks. Another thing you want to take note of is English support if you don't speak German. Sometimes in Germany, in some banks, it can be very difficult to find very good English support or even English bank apps. So it's very important that you try to make sure that the bank you want to open an account with has strong English support, because you might need help with something. And if you want to use the bank app, you want it to be in English so you can understand it. I think many of them actually have good English support, so you have a lot of options to choose from while considering that. And thirdly is to try to avoid fees. I try to avoid bank fees as much as possible because I believe the bank is already investing my money. Why do they need to charge me for it again? They're making profit already off my money. So I don't like to pay any fees to banks, or I try to keep it as minimal as possible. So if that's you, try to look out for banks with low fees. If you look well enough, you get some. And then there are some that like scrape off fees depending on whether or not you meet certain conditions. I think maybe you're maybe under 24 years of age, or you're a student, or you get a minimum amount paid in monthly. So try to look out for those three things. Number one, good English support. Number two, what was number two? Number one is good English support. Number two, banks that have low fees. And then number three, banks that are flexible to open accounts with, like don't require you to have residence permits and so on. Then fifth on my list here is your residence permit registration. So coming into Germany as an international student, you probably just had a visa, and this visa has an expiry date within a couple of months after your arrival. So it's important that you get a more permanent document that shows that you're actually residing in Berlin, and this is what the residence permit is. So the residence permit is a small card, like a small ID card, and yeah, it just states that you are a legal resident of Berlin. I think it states what kind of resident you are and so on. So you need to register for these two. You can do this on, like, I think if you Google residence permit Berlin, you will see the actual website with instructions on where to do it, the actual German website with instructions on how to go about it. As with everything in Berlin, the difficult part is getting an appointment. So get started on time trying to get an appointment for your residence permit. So you basically have to gather your documents, go to an office, one of the registration offices, and then present it to them, and then you get something temporary, and after a while your actual residence permit will be mailed to you. At least I think that used to be the process. So it's still something along those lines. So try to get that done as soon as possible. At least try to book the appointment as soon as possible, especially if your visa is it doesn't last for very long, and also if you're planning to travel, because if you travel and your visa is expired, it can be difficult for you to come back in with an expired visa. But once you have a residence permit, even when your visa expires, you can always go and come until the expiry date on your permit. Last on my list is responding to the radio tax. People or reaching out to them if you don't hear from them. I'm not sure if reaching out to them is very important, but I've heard cases of people who did not hear from them and just left them. In fact, I know people personally, and then near the end of their stay, they actually got a lot of mails from these people requiring them to pay up in arrears all the radio tax that they've owed, even though they were not informed from the beginning. So it's very important that you try to get this sorted. No one likes to pay, but we all have to pay it. So the radio tax in Berlin, if you don't know, is like a compulsory levy that everyone has to pay, at least as far as I know. No, there are some exceptions, but I think there are some exceptions for certain categories of people. So you might want to check that out if you fall into one of those categories. But I believe most of us will have to pay it. So you want to take note of that. I think that I don't know exactly what the tax is for, to be honest. But like the name says, it's a radio tax. So I guess it's something related to media and all. I think it's something to help keep the media going, to keep the media going. I'm not sure exactly what the purpose is, so don't let me go too deep into that. But it's something that you have to pay. It's not very expensive, but if you especially if you are able to share it with your other flatmates, so depending on where you stay, you can share with the people you live with, or you might have to pay it all on your own. So depending on your income, it should not be too much of an inconvenience, but it's something that is important for you to pay. Because if you wait for a long time before you pay it, they keep sending you notices and all, and then they send you a final notice, and if you don't pay after that, then there'll be a fee for late payment, and you want to avoid that as much as possible. So expect their mail, since the government has your registration now, as your address now, details of your address now. They'll reach out to you with details on how to pay and all. So try to ask questions to know if the residence you are staying in permits you to pay with your flatmate. That way you can all share it. So one person opens an account and you all pay to that person, and the person pays, and all your names are covered, because you still have to do something yourself, because I'm sure you get the process when you're into it, but just take note of that, and I don't want this video to be too long. I just wanted it to be short and helpful. So I'll go over the list again. Number 1, pay your semester fees. Number 2, register your residence. Take note that you book your appointment on time, because it can be difficult to get an appointment. Number 3, get a SIM card and activate it. Number 4, open a German bank account. Number 5, register your residence permit. And number 6, respond to radio tax mails, or possibly reach out to them if you don't hear from them after a while. I hope you found this video helpful. Please subscribe to my channel for more please subscribe to my channel for more content like this video, so it can have better reach. And please drop a comment in the section, and I would like to ask you to please respond to the poll on my channel on whether or not you would like to study in Germany. I would like to hear from you and know what you think. Bye.